Mind the gap. Mind the gap. Excuse me, where is the loo? Excuse me, where is the loo? I would like to take the lift. Can you help me find it? I would like to take the lift. Can you help me find it? Yes, I would love the fish and chips. Yes, I would love the fish and chips.
Glenn, what the are you doing?
Well, I'm going to London this week, so I thought I'd better learn English so I could communicate with the locals.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. This is, of course, your trusty leader, Glenn Hausman here, and I'm so excited to have you with me once again. First of all, I'd like to say, boy, am I pooped. I'm recording this from London, and it's the crack of dawn right now, and I am one tired guy. Why am I tired? Because, man, I've been at this business travel show here in London for a couple of days because I'm very excited. I'm starting up a brand new project that I'm thrilled to announce. I'm going to be the host and a travel expert for the brand new Here to Stay TV. That's heretostay.tv, and it's going to be a site all focused on what's happening in the corporate apartments and service departments kind of universe. It's a little bit different than the hospitality universe, and it's an exciting segment that I've actually been talking about now for the last couple of years that I think it's really going to explode, it's going to take off, and I think it's going to really be a reckoning call for the hospitality industry, and I think it's going to push the traditional hotel folks out there to start creating new types of extended stay products that model this serviced apartment kind of look. So, all right, I'm here. I'm tired. It's okay. I thank you guys for sticking with me. Make sure that you follow the show at Traveling Glenn is how you can find me, and drop me an email, glenn@rouse.media. You know I love to hear from you. I love talking to you, and I love doing all these things. So, as soon as this Here to Stay TV thing gets set up and on the way, I've been shooting a lot of video here all week. I've been having a great time doing it, and it's so much fun being able to connect with people in a different medium. Plus, I had the opportunity to shoot a whole lot of video at the NEWH event a couple of weeks ago in Denver, Colorado, and as soon as all of that stuff is published, I'll be sure to get it out to you so you could see it. Now, those NEWH interviews are really super fantastic. I speak to a lot of great industry insiders, and you guys are going to learn a whole lot too. So, here's where we're at. Here's my deal. Business travel show. Interesting. It was pretty packed. It's the first time I've been to this particular conference. You know me, I get to spend a lot of times hopping around the United States, going from event to event to event, but I don't really have the opportunity very often to go to conferences that are outside the country. One of the conferences that I've always wanted to go to is this business travel show. It's all designed for business travel managers on the corporate side who are talking about business travel for the year. So instead of it being from the point of view that we're all accustomed to, which is the guys that are owning and operating and managing and all of that kind of good stuff for the hotels themselves, this show is geared towards people that are purchasing the travel product. So I'm a travel manager at a company, for example, and what I'm going to be doing is figuring out what airlines I'm going to send my people on, what hotels I'm going to have my people stay in, or more likely now, what service departments I might be interested in having my employees stay at. Plus, I want all of those travel management services that are out there to make my job a little bit easier, a little bit cleaner, and a little bit more fun. Now, one of the biggest issues that we're seeing right now is the first 100 days that we're in so far of brand new President Trump. So I was interested to see what people were going to be thinking about in terms of our new leader in the United States and what their perception is. And unfortunately, I did not hear one positive comment about it. People would hear me speak. They would know I'm an American dude. And immediately they would start talking about Trump and what a soulless, horrible human being he is, and how he's going to destroy the United States. So that was no hyperbole. This is literally the feedback I'm getting. Some of the taxi drivers that I dealt with said that when Trump does come to the UK, they're expecting over 1.5 million protesters, the largest protest of any kind that the UK has ever seen. So it's scary kind of times out there. Now the good news is, and this is where it starts to get a little bit muddy, because we've been following this Trump travel ban here on the No Vacancy Show. And one of the things that I've been most concerned about is what is going to happen in terms of desire for people to come to the United States. Right after the presidential election, I put out a video on the 4 questions that we must ask the Donald Trump administration. You can find that on my Glenn Hausman channel on YouTube if you want to go back and watch that. But one of the questions that I asked was specifically, are people still going to want to come to the United States if it's unwelcoming? Now, this is not really the same as the quote-unquote travel ban. Depending on what side you're entrenched in, you're going to decide it was a ban or not a ban, even though the administration goes both ways on calling it a ban and not a ban, right? So essentially, what we're talking about here is whether or not you, as a citizen of a country other than the United States, are going to want to come and visit the United States. We already know American tourism has lagged for a lot of years because we never put the money into advertising America until just, I don't think 5 or 6 years ago when we started to finally do that. And it made a big difference. Our open borders and our visa waiver countries made it really easy for people to come here, even though they might hit roadblocks when they were first coming into the United States and trying to get through customs, long lines. Sometimes for visa countries, you needed to go through a long and winding visa process. But the things that we were doing was working and stuff was coming together. So international travel has been doing extremely well to the United States, and a lot of cities have had a lot of benefit because of it. But my question is, what was going to happen if a Trump administration came in and started to create policies that were not friendly? Now, this travel ban, or not travel ban, depending on how you look at it, is really doesn't matter whether or not it was specifically towards those 7 Muslim countries and preventing those people in. It is a giant red flag to the entire world to say, you, foreigner, are not welcome in the United States. You are not wanted here. And guess what? We don't like your money and we don't want to take it. That's kind of how I think a lot of people overseas are seeing it, regardless of how you feel in the United States. Now, already evidence is coming out that it's not looking good for international travel, I hate to say. And this was my greatest fear. And as when I'm wearing my journalist hat, not my commentator hat, I try to keep it, very middle of the road. But this has been something I'm very concerned about and had a lot of fear about, because when foreigners come to the United States, they stay in hotels longer than the typical American citizen, and they spend a lot more money than the typical American citizen. So we want foreigners to come here. Additionally, foreigners traveling to the United States, believe it or not, is our number 1 export. The current administration is very concerned about keeping jobs, but they're not worried about keeping jobs in the travel universe, it appears to me, through this type of ban. When you throw up blockades to get people to come into the country, it's going to stop those people from spending money in the United States. And according to the New York Times this week, it appears that it's already happening. The airfare prediction app Hopper, for example, analyzed 303 million flight searches between January 26th, the day the initial travel ban came out, and February 1st, and found that flight search demand from 122 countries to the United States dropped 17% compared to before Trump was inaugurated in the January 20th. So it bounced back a little bit when the ban was temporarily lifted on February 3rd, but is still down more than 10% as of February 10th. Additionally, cheapflights.com saw international searches for flights to the United States drop following the ban. Searches were down 38% from January 27th to 29th compared with the previous weekend, and down 16% from February 10th to February 14th. So this is kind of a little bit scary for me. And now, according to Emily Fisher, a spokeswoman for cheapflights.com, she says the drop was more than a seasonal swing. It was noted directly in relation to the day the travel ban was enacted. So this is kind of pretty scary stuff out there, that there does seem to be having an absolute and real deleterious effect to people's desires to come to the United States. And I could go on and on. I've got more evidence here. Responsible travel, a tour operator in Brighton, England, had a 22% decrease in inquiries to the United States following the travel ban. But in contrast, the business for that company is up 30% overall compared to a year before. Now, Justin Francis, its CEO, said prior to the ban, the United States was one of the best-selling destinations, but customers are now choosing to travel to other countries. I don't know what more evidence we need right here, but it seems pretty good. Unfortunately, Hilton CEO Christopher Nassetta does not feel the same way. I don't get this myself, but let's see what Chris Nassetta has to say right now. He says that the economic policies considered by the Trump administration are likely to outweigh the effects of the fallout from that problem. And he said this on Hilton's fourth quarter earnings call this past week. He said specifically in October, the psychology in the business community is certainly more positive than when we talked the last time. We have not seen any material impact as consequence of what's happening during the past 2 or 3 weeks, which is fine, but now we're talking a new reality when all of a sudden we are closing our doors to countries and telling them to piss off. Now, Hilton is doing absolutely incredible out there so far, and Nassetta is a great, smart dude. I've enjoyed talking with him on stage, and I hope to have him on this show soon. I'm trying to work out some scheduling time. So I'm hoping I'll get the opportunity to speak with him about this because I have a very philosophical difference about this, and it's one of the issues that I simply didn't understand with a lot of hoteliers in the community. One of the issues that I hear all the time is that Trump is going to be good for business. Trump is going to be good for business. I voted for Trump because he's going to be good for business. I personally, as a New Yorker who has been cognizant of Donald Trump for my whole life, I never saw it. I never understood that. I never really thought that his policies as a president are really going to help business, and I'm hoping that my pro-Trump folks out there are going to be able to explain to me exactly why they feel that this man is going to be able to help the business community. Now, I certainly understand that he was much more pro-business than the Democrat nominee, Hillary Clinton, because that party is leaning much more towards that socialist aspect and raising a minimum wage and taxes and all of these things that make it a little bit more difficult for the average small business owner to compete, which, of course, most hoteliers are small business owners. But my greatest fear, and this is where I need you pro-Trump people to school me a little bit, is I just feel that they're going so far in the other direction. Again, philosophically, I feel both political parties in our country have been hijacked by extremes, and both sides are crazy, absolute loons. Guys, join me here in the middle where it's sensible. I'm a little bit more liberal socially. I can't help it as a crazy New Yorker, but I also happen to be more fiscally conservative, and I yearn for a good, smart Republican to convince me to vote for them. But lately, the extremes have been so bad, I just haven't been able to do it. Plus, quite frankly, I live in New York. Doesn't matter who I vote for. It's always going to go for the Democrat side anyway. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I need you guys out there to help educate me a little bit in why you think that Trump's policies are actually going to help the travel industry and help hoteliers make more money. Now, one argument you have is the economy seems to be going very well, something I've believed it's been doing very well for a number of years now, contrary to what people have been saying. I think that the amount of money that people are making in the hotel industry has absolutely been fantastic, and I see that we've had such great travel trends out there. My greatest fear is that as this antagonism between the government and people starts to continue to accelerate, it's going to cause not only those foreigners from not wanting to come to the United States, but it's going to stop American travel managers from sending people out on as many trips. I think that they might start to get scared. I just heard today for the first time that people were checking IDs on a domestic flight getting off the plane because they were looking for certain specific people that may have violated immigration policies. I don't know about you, but I don't want my ID being checked all the time. I haven't done anything wrong. So why are you checking my IDs? I get it. You want to get rid of illegal aliens that may or may not have committed crimes. I certainly agree with that. But that business shouldn't affect my personal freedoms. And I'm starting to become extremely concerned that we're going to start to lose those personal freedoms. And the more personal freedoms that we lose, the less likely we are going to want to leave our houses, our communities and neighborhoods and travel to new places and spend our money. So again, out there, all my folks on the right side of the argument, send me notes, glenn@rouse.media, ROUSE.media, or find me at Traveling Glenn on Twitter or Instagram. And please lay out your arguments in a smart, coherent, logical way that get me to believe that the hotel industry is going to do phenomenal in the next couple of years because of policies coming directly from the Trump administration. Because right now, I don't see that, and I want you guys to educate me on why I'm wrong. I'm open for conversation. I love a good spirited debate. I know that a lot of conversations people have been having seem to be sliding sideways, with people getting called libtards and snowflakes and Trumpkins or Oompa Loompas and all of those kind of insults out there. But listen, I don't want any of that. I want to know what's going on in your minds, and I want to be convinced that the Trump administration is going to be amazing for business. And don't tell me it's because he's a hotelier. He's a luxury hotelier. His hotels make up an infinitesimally small bit of the market and aren't going to affect the average human being. So I want to hear more from you guys. Let me know. And before I wrap up, I do want to once again thank you guys for listening. I'm so excited to be finally kicking things into overdrive. I've got some more exciting announcements coming up. And if you want to see the show live, I will be at the AHOA event in San Antonio, Texas in April. And I'll have more details about that. We'll be recording shows live directly from there with an exciting new partnership I'm putting together with AHOA. You're going to love it. I'm loving it. And no, I'm not talking about this coffee that I have from McDonald's right now. I want to thank you guys for listening. And as soon as we get back from commercial break, I want to share a little bit more about what's happening in the serviced apartment industry with you. So I'm going to rerun an interview I had with Sean Worker, the CEO of BridgeStreet Global Hospitality. Great guy. And he will explain, and we will share all about why this industry is relevant and why it's important and why you guys out there might be thinking about this, especially for you real estate owners out there that have mixed-use facilities. Perhaps you have retail, perhaps you have a hotel in there, and perhaps you have apartments in there. What if all of those apartments aren't sold out? What if you have space? What if you turned over some of those apartments to a company like BridgeStreet to be able to sell those rooms for you for extended stay visits from people? It's compelling. It's interesting. It's something that guests love. And oh yeah, I happen to be recording this show right now from a serviced apartment in London, which is pretty cool. I feel like I'm part of the community here in London, much more so than a hotel. And we talk a lot about authenticity and experience. And it's really cool for me, as a guy who's used to going in and out of hotels all the time, to have something a little bit different. So I've got a lot of space here. It's really cool to take my key, lock my apartment door, and then be right in the middle of a neighborhood instead of being in a hotel. It's neat. It's interesting. It's different. It's fun. It's fascinating. And I'm having a great time here. Okay, so listen, I got to get going because you got to hear this interview, and I've got a few hours in between meetings, and I want to go do something decidedly British. I already had my fish and chips. Now I think I got to go out and get some good curry meal, and I think I'd really like to go over to that British Museum and see some really, really old stuff. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Glenn here. All right, so this is not part of the show, but this is an ad for something I really believe in. It's the California Lodging Investment Conference. And the great thing is it's only one day. That's Thursday, March 9th, 2017. It's going to be held in Orange County. Now, if you're in California as a hotelier or doing business with California hoteliers, this is going to be a great opportunity to get together for an amazing day of learning, professional development, and networking. It's hosted by my good buddy, Craig Sullivan. He's a conference chair, and he's really launching this conference. Why? To make sure that fellow industry leaders support the community and educate emerging talent. That's where you guys come in. Be sure to attend, and you're going to have a great time. You're going to learn and maybe even get some new opportunity. So again, the California Lodging Investment Conference is going to be located at the Hilton Irvine Orange County Airport on March 9th, 2017. That's coming up really fast, so make sure you visit their website, clickconference.com. That's CLICKONFERENCE.com. clickconference.com.
Get right into it.
See what happens. Well, I like doing it that way. I think it's more natural. Just kind of leads you into the whole thing. So, I'm here in Reston, Virginia, home of BridgeStreet Global Hospitality with President and CEO Sean Worker. Hello, sir. How are you?
How you doing, Glenn?
Sorry I'm so low energy. I just got out of the car. It's been a 6.5 hour trip, which should have been 4 hours, but thank you, I-95, for always being really busy.
Well, the good news is that was just, a mile and a half?
Yeah. I did pretty well getting all the way down to about 10 miles out of here. And then it was just gridlock. But that is the lovely Washington, D.C. area. Now, L.A.
We're known for bridges, as you can tell. I think we got 3 in the whole town.
Yeah, I think so. Now, L.A., they think they're real cool because they complain about traffic a lot. But no, I think you down here in the Washington, D.C. area have really got that
we own it.
away.
And you should see people going away for the holiday 4th.
Yeah.
And getting over to the island. It takes them a day there and a day back. So they have one night there.
I wouldn't doubt it. And, we're recording
this
conversation right after the July 4th holiday. And, I was home last weekend. It was great because I was on the road pretty much all of June. And I was home and the family's like, let's go to Jones Beach. And for those of you who don't know, it's a big beach on Long Island, southern Long Island, to go see the fireworks. And I just knew it was going to be a horrible, atrocious thing. To watch 20 minutes of fireworks, it would take 3 hours
so
each way.
You had a case and there was 20 beers in it, so one a minute. Is that what you're up to?
Well, what happened was it wound up that we had a party the day before, and I had those leftover beers at home, and at some point during the day we decided it might be more fun just to stay at home.
And drink the beer.
Right, drink the beer and kind of lay around and do
And then
nothing.
Your wife told you that's not going to happen.
But I lit a sparkler for my kids, and I said, woo!
Oh, you really
July
pushing
4th.
the boat out,
Well,
Glenn?
I like to spoil them.
Yeah,
so.
you clearly. Yeah.
I really do. So, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about today is, everyone talks about hotels, but one's grabbing all those headlines right now are Airbnb, but I think that they've got it wrong because me, as a business traveler, as a hospitality professional, I don't really want to have that hassle. It's weird. It's strange. It's not as great as I think people are making it out to be for the career-minded person who's been out for a while in the real world and doesn't want to have those kind of experiences. I love what you guys are doing with the service departments, and now you've moved a lot beyond that because I think you really become part of the fabric of the city. You have that residential kind of feel to it, but you still have that sense that you're in a hotel-like environment with the way that you're taken care of.
The lines are blurring as we can see it. Like
When
you asked me this question a few years back,
right.
I'm not too sure we would have positioned ourselves in that manner. We were on that journey of standard branding, conventionality, taking something complicated, making it understood.
Right.
And where we've moved to is an accommodation marketplace.
Yeah.
And people are looking for experiences. And they're looking to go home with a story, a real story. Some people call it authentic, some people call it real, but you want to go home with the story. You just shared a story, right, about July 4th weekend. You want to go home and say, this is what I did in DC or Paris or Dubai or Hong Kong or any city you're in, and go home with a story.
You're absolutely right. I think a big part of the travel experience is having those bragging rights.
How about a good story
as
opposed to an airline story?
Right. Well, some of those are pretty good too, although they are nightmares. It is true though. I would rather have much more positive experiences, and I think that's what people are looking for. Not look what happened to me, but you won't believe what I did. And you won't believe the experience that I had.
And so if we can do nothing else but offer an environment locally,
right,
where they are in a story world where they create their own story book. We have an obligation to do the following. Get them the keys, get them into a great apartment or a home, get them into a place where everything works, and provide the same level of hospitality you would in a hotel with housekeeping services and everything else you would expect. That's just the rules of entry. However, the moment you step outside our door, like for instance, I was staying in New York when we were up there at the the investment conference, right?
Conference, yeah.
And I'm a user of our product. Well, I'm on the 34th floor, and I have 2 balconies, and I stand outside, and honest to goodness, I'm going, I can't believe I'm here.
Right.
Not because it's just our product, but I'm looking at on one balcony, I'm looking directly at Freedom Tower, and I turn right, I'm looking at the Hudson River.
Amazing.
And then behind me, I'm looking at where the ball drops on New Year's Eve.
Amazing.
And I'm standing in Times Square, except 34 floors up. That's a story.
Well, I don't want to be a one-upper, but I was in a hotel where the room was barely larger than the bed, and it looked over an alley. So
Okay, I got lucky. But the point being is, I actually told my friends about my own experience and going, you can't believe this. And it was one of those days where it was sunny, it was clear, and it was just a perfect day.
I love it.
And that's what you look for.
Yeah, and that really sets the stage for experience. And maybe that's kind of what you're doing. You're not just providing the accommodations, you're providing a level of comfort and setting
No one's
the stage
going to
for them
remember the
explore.
bed, right? As long as the bed is good, no one's going to tell a story about the bed unless it's incredibly exceptional. But you are going to go home and say, I can't believe this. I stood there in the middle of one of the busiest cities in the world and had a peaceful moment where I saw 3 of the most iconic views from one place on a balcony. And then you go downstairs, and then you're across from the M&M store, and you got the Hershey store, and you keep going through it, and then you go back to the sanctuary. Right. And you tell people about that. Or in Paris, you do the same thing, and you stand on a balcony, you're staring straight at the Eiffel Tower, and you're going downstairs to your favorite cafe that is not a hotel restaurant.
Yeah, because as much as hotel restaurants have come a long way, I think when you're in a major city in particular, that's not really the type of experience you're looking for, other than maybe breakfast.
Right, and even breakfast, what we're doing with Mode as an example, we're actually, with the one that we're developing, is that experience, although we don't have a restaurant, we've set it up so that you can have breakfast, or you can bring back something. So actually the experience we're having, we're partnering with a local patisserie that will come to us every morning with fresh baguettes, and they set up a stand for coffee. They're meeting someone really authentic.
Right.
And they're going to know, and then, that person will go away and come back and it's fresh the next morning. They're not a hotelier. They're a local restaurateur, and we're bringing them to us.
I love that. So it's like bringing the fabric of the neighborhood to the guests.
And easy. So it's easy. The same thing so every city we're going into, it's the same purpose. The one we're opening in DC is the same thing. We purposely selected a site that's next to some good local restaurants.
That's going to be on DuPont Circle.
In DuPont Circle, yeah. That probably doesn't get any better than that.
No.
Right? And so that's all about the neighborhood. Right. Even though you're on DuPont Circle, you're down the road from the White House. You're right there in one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in DC. And we're going to make it so easy for you with your Instagram wall to share your memories with other guests, so that they're referring you, the guest, rather than the concierge, to a local place.
I love that. Now, I wanted to talk about Mode and the different brands that you folks have, but you really hit on a point, so I'll get to that in a minute. One of the things
that I'm talking about... That's the first time in my life.
Yeah.
You're very kind.
I know. Well, you told me you're going home to see your parents, so maybe you could tell them about that.
Oh,
when you get to Ireland.
Yeah, at 90 years of age, they're really excited about that. Let me tell you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They
thrilled.
They live and
love
breathe
that story.
I'm sure your dad's like, tell me more about Mode.
He's 90, and now he's probably know I'm coming, and he's leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've been talking about and trying to preach is that it's not good enough to just have art in your hotel. It's not good enough just to have nice accommodations. You need to have social media moments, things that people want to react to in the moment and share it with all of their friends and followers in the online community.
And, when you connect the media in an immediacy, which is, if you take Mode, it's about the guest referring the guests rather than the concierge referring you to the one that they're going to get the best commission from.
Right. That's an interesting idea.
Right. So it's peer-to-peer recommendations that says, hey, I saw a post on your screen in our communal area, and it says that Donnelly's bar down the street has got the best fish and chips. Great. Where do I find that?
Yeah.
Fish and chips, and go talk to Frank down there, who's or it could be an Italian restaurant, it could be the best Thai restaurant, it could be a West End show like Kinky Boots or something like that, and people are referring it to themselves. But this snackable content that can be posted either directly or on their Facebook, or referring others to an authentic experience that's been validated, is a now moment.
Right.
It's a now moment. Exactly. It's not a tomorrow moment. It's not a yesterday moment. It's right now.
And we're never going to get to talk about the specifics of this, because now I want to talk to you about now moments. It seems to me that's kind of where we have shifted as a society. We're very focused on this present happening in this moment. We're not really thinking about the future. We're not really thinking long term. Mm-hmm. It's now. Instant gratification, run amok almost.
Right. So, instant gratification. You take Brexit as an example. I know I'm going off on a tangent here.
I love tangents.
And you already know this, I'm sure, is that the number one search, talk about in the moment. Did you read this?
Of course.
You did. What was the hours before Brexit was, what is Brexit? And the next morning it was, what is the EU?
Right.
It doesn't get any more now than that.
Nope.
Especially now, 24 hours too late. That is absolutely in all of our society at this point. Either we're procrastinators to a whole new level, and there's a whole industry that has shaped itself around human procrastination, which, fair play to them, I wish I had thought of that, which I didn't. But equally, people want to know last minute. So I'm going to a destination. Like you drove down, right? Mm-hmm. Your entire agenda is not set.
Right.
But if you see something interesting that pops up on one of the social media sites you're connected to, and you maybe have half an hour where you can wander off and find something that's a good story that you wouldn't ordinarily have thought about or be aware of, but was referred to you in an authentic way, you'd probably do it. I can see it in your eyes, Clint.
Absolutely.
You're ready to leave right now.
Well, I wish. And, you're so close to the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum down here.
Yep.
It's like, as I was getting closer to you, I was like, if I could only just go and check out the space shuttle and go for a walk around that place. I love that museum. I'd love to see it. But the good news is I did stop for Waffle House on the way down. Great. So that was really important to me.
So that's what's on your shirt.
Yes. Excuse me. Let me just look that up. A little too much
looking good there
for
man.
Me. All right. So what I love about Mode, you're calling it a part hotel. Yes. Right? So it's got the sensibilities of both the apartment kind of lifestyle and the hotel living in a community type of experience. And I love how you call it like designed for the new tribe, social connected and always on the move. Thank you for not pegging it to something with the name millennial in it. So I appreciate that, because I really think that we're all moving, and a big chunk of society is going into that direction of the sharing, the moving 24/7. And now that we're talking about it, I'm wondering how much of this fast-paced, information-based lifestyle is contributing to our inability to really focus on any one thing and really learn about it over a longer period of time.
So we could wax lyrical around this for hours.
I think we could.
Right. So maybe I just take a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Right. Being that we're dealing with little pieces.
Give me the headline and how it ties into what you're doing.
So let's take snippets. We're in information overload.
Right.
So you were speaking earlier off mic about the paradox of choice, right? And so in some respects, it's what's in front of you now that you make choices on. Mm-hmm. So if it's smaller, we see it's down to a class. 10 best ways to do this, 5 things to do, 3 easy ways. Well, you click on that because there's only 3 easy ways. If there's 10, you don't. So for what we're trying to do with Mode is say we just want to be part of whatever those 3 easy things you want to do. It may be that you use, instead of using a rental car, you're going to use Uber, which is an experience in itself. Then I don't really want to stay in a hotel, but I really want the security of a hotel. And I want something different where if I'm staying there for up to 7 nights, maybe 2 of those nights, I kind of feel like if I can get farm-to-table food and it's just right there for just finishing rather than preparing, and I can do that one night and it's just my food, my way, that makes me feel comfortable and safe.
Right.
It's a retreat position.
Interesting.
That being said, if I want to go and engage with a community, I can do it right outside my door. And a lot of people when you're traveling, you don't want to be the person sitting, you know how restaurants do, they make sure that they put you right in the middle where you're on your own. Go somewhere where there's plenty of other people that are traveling, and now you're part of that tribe.
Right.
Right? The mobile tribe, the now tribe. And everybody's got something in common.
Right.
Right? As opposed to the manufactured communal table, you will sit at the communal table. That's great. Thanks for that. It's like getting somebody sitting to you next on a plane, and they want to talk to you all night, and you don't want to talk to them.
I really, as much as I love people, I really hate people at the same time, especially on the
Right.
airplane. I find the airplane my last sanctuary for peace
That's
and
it.
quiet and to be left alone.
Yeah, I'm not a therapist.
Right.
Yeah, this is random selection at its worst.
That's what that little cart going up and down the aisle with the booze is for.
That's it. Yeah. Reach in and see what you get. Yeah. So people are. I think we're all looking for that. And I know you talk about kind of categorization of age, millennials, boomers. I think it's the psychographic that's been around for a long time. But
I've been preaching that forever.
Forever. What makes a millennial? Age? I don't think so. I met some really, really kind of shallow boomers, and I've met some really shallow millennials. I've met some really, really smart millennials and really smart boomers. So it's what people are engaged in. We're not for everybody, clearly. That's why hotels list. I've shared this a number of times. We're not trying to be the anti-anything.
Right.
What we are is part of the choice of accommodation. That's it. We're just part of the lexicon of choice. We're a supermarket. You want to pick us, or do you want to pick something more conventional, or do you want to pick something more extreme like Airbnb, or do you want to talk about an experience? I'd then go back to Airbnb. Staying on a boat is a cool thing, but that's probably sometimes not what you're looking for. But you could have the same experience, different experiences in the same week. We find that with our customers, and Monday through Thursday, they keep the apartment all week. Once they get to Thursday night or Friday, they're off to do something completely different. It could be, again, the boat in Catherine's dock through Airbnb. It could be with One Fine Stay. It could be with their timeshare somewhere. It could be, just simply going to the beach and going to a B&B. Then they come back to our world. In Mode, it's a combination of both. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of crack in the wall.
I love it. I love that you say you're not trying to be something for everyone, because you can't be. And to equate it to what you were saying about food and beverage, I think we've seen that in the food industry, right? The mass-produced foods are losing their way with consumers who are looking for more artisanal products.
That's
with
right.
The experiences and the stories that are behind it, and fresh. Exactly.
To your point, that's a great metaphor. Is people want to know what the ingredients are, and riboflavin 484 285 is not something you find in your back garden. And so you want to know what you're eating. You want to know where you're living. You want to know what you're driving. You want to go and, live in a better style and quality.
Right, and that's really what it's all about in this day and age. And you get to have that deeper experience within the neighborhood and really explore. And I love that you have people recommending things to each other, and you're fostering that.
It does take some of the pressure off us then, too.
Right.
To be clear.
It sure does. But it's interesting that you could compete on that level when you have Yelp and you have all of these other services that give you advice. But I think people are still interested in getting the advice directly from someone near them or in that same kind of area of them, right?
The world, again, coming back to your theme of it's a noisy place, if you can look somebody in the eye or get a recent review, that's far more valuable than let me go online and take a random shot at it. Okay, and you think of it, Amazon has taken that to a whole new level.
Right.
They don't tell you about the products.
No.
They let the community tell you about the product.
Yeah, it's really pretty amazing that they do that, and they've had such success with that.
So the community tells the community whether that television or that garage system or whatever the product is of any value.
Right.
So who do you believe, Amazon or the community?
Well, yeah, I think you're always more apt to believe the community because it has that sense of impartiality.
Yeah, and in fairness to Airbnb, they've done the same thing. Their community tells the community that what the quality of that experience was.
But I don't want to beat them up because I think that they are doing a great job at disrupting the industry, and quite frankly, they're scaring the bejesus out of a lot of the CEO guys that I know that are in the traditional hotel sphere because it's something that makes them uncomfortable in the sense that they don't have their arms fully wrapped around it. They don't understand the cultural shift that's really occurring around it. They say experiences a lot, but if you have 1,000 hotels in your brand, how do you actually deliver that when you're dealing with a legacy kind of a way of thinking? So it's a lot harder. And the hotel industry itself has been very difficult to adapt anything in a timely way. It's almost an afterthought. You've got the opportunity now, because you're a younger, brighter type of an organization, to tap into that zeitgeist. Plus, you happen to, I think, be in a sphere that more naturally matches some of the things that we're seeing in the macro societal trends.
We're onboarding about up to 400 significant customers a quarter.
Wow.
Okay. So.
And that's not just one guy, that's like companies.
No, they're companies, right? So when you look at a company making that decision, that we're part of their solution, they're looking for something else that says we want to be free to roam. Free to roam. So our attitude is we're putting our customer first and wrapping it in the brand rather than immersing the customer in the brand first. Right?
Right.
You get to run. You set the fence. You tell us where you want to roam, and then we'll work with you wherever you roam to.
I love that you're saying that because I think that that's one of the mistakes.
So that's our brand.
That's a mistake that a lot of companies make is they think that people want to stay specifically with their hotel. But they don't say, I want to stay at X hotel. They say, I want to go to this city, or I want to have this experience. And the hotel and anything that follows in the food is always the last part of that, at least the last part of the inspiration process.
So you want, if you put the customer first, and there's lots of inspirations for this. You look at Jeff Bezos, we'll stick with him he puts the customer first. The customers move from, if you say to them, I'm going to deliver in 2 days, the next thing they're going to say to you, I want you to deliver in 1 day. Then they get to 1 day and they say, I want it now, today. Well, you look at what he's done. It's just followed the demand of the customer. It says, right, I know they want it today. Well, I better start looking at drones.
Right.
Right? Can I do drop-off points?
Yeah, now we're talking Uber doing same-day delivery on products.
Right. So the consumer, the customer, is making the decision as to where they allocate their share of wallet.
Yep.
So why would I try and constrict that? So our company, what we're trying to do is say to a corporation, okay, if you've got interns, you tell us where those interns need to be and we'll find a way to make them happy. If we book a lot of hotel rooms, believe it or not.
Really?
Millions of dollars worth of hotel rooms. So you want them in a hotel, I'll book them in a hotel while they transition to an apartment. Or if they want to stay in a hotel full-time, I'll do that too. Whatever you want. So it's about our customer and saying to them, look, if you have an executive that is going on a short-term assignment, we'll help you with that. If you've got an interim intake, we'll help you with that. If you're retooling your manufacturing plant in Bratislava, we can stand that up too. We've done that for Airbus and others. So, but the focal point is the customer. We go to them with a solution, and we ask them, where do they want to roam? You roam, we follow. We're just part of the caravan.
So how do you keep laser focus on making sure that's your primary goal with the company? Because you can so easily get distracted from that.
Easily. So culturally, we think about it in this manner. I know, I should have some very flashy mission statement and vision statement, and we don't.
Right.
Right? We have two premise, and it's wrapped in our growth goal. So we want to get tens from our teammates, so we put our teammates above the customer. Right? We survey our teammates.
Wasn't it Richard Branson who said it's wrong that customers come first, your employees come first, they'll take care of the customer?
It's only taken me 40 years to get there. Yeah.
Well, I thank Facebook for that.
I'm a slow learner. I believe me. Don't be coming here for inspiration. So we put our teammates first, and if we get tens from our teammates and we have a work environment that they trust and that we all engage in, then it seems reasonable that when we request our teammates to engage to get a 10 from our customer, that's a reasonable bargain. That's
Right.
a fair bargain, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We're all going to engage together because I have a role. We view ourselves as a jigsaw puzzle as opposed to a hierarchy. My role is as important as my teammate who is cleaning a unit.
Right.
Period. No unit. But
Right.
if I don't do what I'm meant to do and they don't do what they're meant to do, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
So that's the bargain. Then in turn, that puts the customer first. So my customers, I have two customers, my teammate and the customer. So that helps us focus our mind. We want to, we have 4 strategies to grow the business. We want to double it over 4 years. So it's tens, and 2x4x4. That's it. That's our entire plan.
Right.
So for those of you that
easy enough,
listening, there you go. That's it.
You just gave away the secret. Now
Yeah,
everybody's going to be
That's done.
running and doing that. But I love that you have different brands for different purposes. You were talking about like the interns, for example. They might want to stay in the studio product or the places product, but then you've got some of the higher end executives that might feel more comfortable in the residence or the exclusive product.
And mode starts to transition them through it. It's like a life cycle. You might come in for a week to 3 weeks for mode, but then that may feel a little cramped. And then you want to move, and if you're staying for 6 months, living or residences or something like that would work. We've equally worked with some of the hotel companies that said, you know what, they like a city center location and we don't have it, so we'll book them in at, the Residence Inn. And we've done that too.
That's so antithetical to everything I would think that you would want to do as a CEO.
That's okay. Customer wins.
Right.
So they come back to us again and again because they know that we're agnostic about the choice. They choose, we provide the solution. So sometimes we are putting people in other people's brands.
I'm shaking my head at that because it's really so
Doesn't make any
different
sense, does
than
it?
anything I've ever heard before.
Yeah, so it comes back to if the customer says, I want to stay in
Makes
Times
sense.
Square,
Yeah.
fine.
Right. I mean, if you're dealing with XYZ company and they put X amount of nights in your properties throughout the year, then why wouldn't you want to facilitate them with this other way?
That's right.
Plus, I would think the selfish part of it is you retain control over that customer's journey. So
If we make it easy for them to book, we handle all of the back office.
Right.
We provide, we guarantee it too. Inside the Residence Inn, our brand guarantee carries. So if their first night is not up to our 4 drivers, it's free. And every night, 50% thereof is off until it's rectified.
that's pretty gutsy.
So we stand behind where we put you, we stand behind it. Period.
So you say double in size. That's pretty lofty goals.
Now we're well on the way to that.
That's
So
excellent.
It's about client acquisition and retention, like everybody. And we're hoping that our little formula where we put the customer first and says wherever you want to roam around, we'll roam with you, and we'll make it easy for you to do that, and we'll provide all the back office to support it, and it's a single accommodation solution.
I love it. So I have a lot of road warriors listening to this.
Yep.
This thing.
And thank you for listening and not switching off at this point. If I were you, I would.
I'm just glad we got him this far.
Yeah. Grateful.
But what I just wanted to share one more story about an experience that I had with you and how it really revealed to me how different this could be. We've had a relationship for a number of years. You've been kind enough to speak on some panels that I've moderated in the past, and you're like, hey, go check out one of these products. So I got to do that in New York City, and I was really blown away by, instead of having that room that I joked with you about earlier being all compact and tight, I had a real apartment. I was able to get work done. I was able to have people come over and watch a football game on Monday night. I mean, I got to have a real a real different type of experience. I hate using that word over and over. They got to come up with another word for experience. Maybe we'll work on that after this this podcast. But I just totally fell in love with the whole idea that you don't have to have the traditional hotel experience. You can go somewhere else and still have all of your needs satisfied, and some pleasant surprises too, like housekeeping not knocking on your door every 20 minutes and disturbing you.
You get to set that.
Yeah. Which is great. And I stayed with you, I think 3 or 4 nights. I didn't have housekeeping once, and it was just like being at home. And it reminded me of when I used to live in New York City, except your apartment was much nicer and larger, and I had great views.
Thank you for that.
No, but it's the truth. So I would really encourage, check out BridgeStreet Global Hospitality the next time you're going to a big city, for example, because you might have the opportunity to get that real, authentic experience that you're looking for that's beyond the traditional hotel experience. But, I love the traditional hotels too, so you probably want to check those out. Any final words, Sean?
As always, appreciate what you do.
Well,
Because
I
you're
appreciate
always the other
everything.
edge of the coin.
Yeah.
You're on the edge, maybe not the other side, but you
Right.
always got that edge spinning. So
Well, I hope so.
keep us thinking. Keep us thinking.
That's just me living in Brooklyn for all those years. Which, by the way, let me plug this. I'm hitting Brooklyn on my way home, and I'm going to be recording a show with Matt Fisher, who does amazing barbecue in
Wow.
Brooklyn. It's the number one place in
Love that.
Brooklyn. I think I just.
As a patty, I love barbecue. Can you believe that?
Do you?
Yeah, it's really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's from the years down in Texas. It's good stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, after we get off the mics, I will tell you all about the ribs that I smoked for my party during the July
Good
4th
stuff.
holiday,
Glenn,
which led
thanks.
to my demise.
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for your time.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.